On the road again, can't wait to get on the road again. I don't know the words to the song, so I'll get on the road. Hey, who ate my damn brownie? That was me! Good morning. It is, I have no idea what day it is. Is it Sunday? Is it Sunday? Yep, it's Sunday. Happy Sunday. We are on the road for this weekend and next weekend. So I'm pouring all the coffee all over myself. Anyhow, and we are on the road this week, and we are starting. This is now officially, I am back in Atlanta, and we are officially at the midpoint of my big move to Colorado. I don't understand why I need to feel the need to sort of record all of it, but hey, prosperity. I'm realizing that with social media as an artist, a lot of times with my social media, it's just mostly me talking to myself. And I'm okay with that because I do that with all the time anyway. So, but it's just, as an artist, it's always been really, really difficult for me to kind of keep track of things, keep track of my events, keep track, like, to be able to journal. I've never been a great journal keeper, and keeping track of all of the things that go down and all the things that I do. And I've come to use social media as a big, valuable tool where I can just sort of record. It's like a digital journal, really, where I can just record aspects of my artistic practice, and then I have it so that I can go back on it and sort of just reassess everything. So, like, I'll take a lot of pictures, and then I'll be there. Okay, what do I need to put on social media? What are my favorite pictures? You know, what are the things that I'm working on? So, social media can be a really valuable tool in your artistic practice, where you use it to record everything so that you can see it again and again and again and again. And now that I've been doing it for about 15 years on Facebook, I've got 15 years of memories on Facebook that come up every day. So, like, every day there's a whole memory section of Facebook where I can look into over the last 15 years, and I'm like, I am so glad that my past self put the pictures there, like paintings that were just in their beginning stages, they're baby pictures. You know, I've got them, you know, so, like, I can kind of look back on them, and I think it's a very, very valuable tool, and I am very, for everybody, just for that alone, everybody that always said, oh, you do the social media, I mean, man, I think back and I'd be like, if I hadn't been not recorded all of this for 15 years, it would not be there. Well, I mean, that's obvious, duh. But the fact that I have it, and I can look back on 15 years of social media posts, is really valuable to me. And whatever, like, the naysaying of Facebook, Meta, this, that, or the other. Somebody, let me see, make sure nobody's contacting me. How's the sound out there? Anybody that's out there that's listening, somebody booped me. Who booped me? Oh, some weekly report is ready. I think the notifications are getting a little bit out of hand on all of the apps. You know, it's almost as bad as getting emails from everybody. You know, it's like, I've never been able to do the email marketing where I send out an email to everybody or have a newsletter, because, you know, I look at it and I'm like, I don't have time to read other people's emails. Why do I want to send emails to other people? There's two things as an artist, like on my side, that I've got, like, I fight with myself over. One of them is an email newsletter, and the other one is the at everyone on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it on my Facebook page this week. We talked about, like, I asked a question. You notice people on Facebook with the at everyone to everybody, and then all of a sudden, like, you're getting posts from all of your pages because they're, like, tagging at everyone. And so I asked a question about, do you like or dislike that? And the telling thing about it has been, there's not a lot of reactions, but there are so many comments. And I've never had a post do that before on Facebook, where there's so many comments that from people, but there's like no reaction because everybody's just like hates it. So I know on one side, Facebook is not a really good algorithm to be able to get to your audience because they're so busy trying to get you to do ads for it. So it's, that they got to make money, you got to make money. Everybody needs respect of privacy. It's like, where do we find this common denominator with the at everyone? And I think, some people, it look like they're just like, if they get an at everyone from a page, they automatically stop following that page. Some people with pages like Soul Dance and stuff, they're working out a nice common denominator with the audience because a lot of their traffic is dependent on getting their information on a bi-weekly basis to the people that go through their events. So in that sense, I can see the at everyone really working to the benefit and people buying into it because, yes, you want to know that information. But then on the other side are the people that have the pages or the creators that just at everyone for every single post. And that's not going to work because, people's time on the internet is very, very valuable. And our time that we spend, and not only that, but regulating our downtime, because I'm seeing a trend of people pulling away from being plugged in. That's the trend lately, is people moving away from being plugged in. And basically, or at least not getting bombarded with as many messages or notifications, because if I left all of my notifications on, I literally would be being beeped every 60 seconds. So nobody's got time for that shit. So what do you do? But and it's like Threads. So if any of you know or do not know, Threads, which is an extension of Instagram that was started by Meta, the media has labeled it as a Twitter killer, or like competition with Twitter, and it's like, why are they comparing it? I can see the comparison, but the feel is so different than Twitter. Honestly, beneath all of it, Threads feels more like Facebook did when Facebook first started, and more than it feels like Twitter. So, like, I don't know if people out there that remember when Facebook started, it basically, you can just text things. You couldn't post pictures, you couldn't edit your post, and there was no messaging between everybody. So the only way that we would communicate with each other is just with the post. And this is back 2004 to 2008, 2009 time period. I think 2007, 2008 was when the message box got added. Not Messenger. Messenger came later when I think Instagram came along and they needed, I don't know. And then now they have WhatsApp. I don't know what's up with that. But Threads is having a really interesting sort of start, in a sense. Well, one, it's I think the first week, people, like 100 million people signed up for Threads the first week, which made it like the most downloaded app or the most sort of joined app ever. But on the other side of that, it's like basically you jump from Instagram, you can take your entire Instagram audience with you, and they let you do that. Backing out of it is a little bit tough, but I've been enjoying Threads because Threads to me feels like the teacher's lounge, or like say backstage or the green room, at an event where everybody is it's behind the scenes of social media, and everybody can let their hair down and just relax for a little bit and not just verbally attack everybody. So it's been a joy in that sense, but we'll see where it goes. I think people jumped on board of it really, really quickly to see if they could monetize the app. And there's really not a lot. The only way that you can really sort of like leverage or monetize that app is by using it as a direct, like a funnel to like Instagram and Facebook or your website. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at Threads Threads is not the hard sell platform where you go and try to hard sell a product. That's not gonna, I don't think it's going to work on that platform. And if it keeps going the way that it is, I don't think you're going to be able to do that on that platform, because I don't think the audience is going to want it. And because I think the audience is really enjoying the reprieve on Threads from all of the hard sells from everybody. And I think if it strives to keep that as is, they sort of like the relaxed app, relaxed social media, where you can just, you can have a little bit of peace of mind with what you're going to post, and leave Instagram and Facebook and some of the other social medias as a place where, okay, this is where we'll do advertising, but ultimately, as an artist or a creative or anything that you might have a product for, the most important thing is your website. I don't care what anybody says. It's all about your website, because you keep control of your website, and that's where you want everybody to go. So it's all about funneling everybody to your website. And I think with Threads, the thing that it's more of a networking, showcasing, just going in a deeper dive. That's the trend that's happening. I see like on YouTube's and social media. It's all about this idea of the deep dive, going deeper into something, and talking deeper about what you do, and connecting with the people that are doing the same. Like most of my Thread feed is artists. And it's not artists trying to sell themselves, like, hey, I've got this for sale. Sticker Mule did something that was like a Twitter killer called Stimulus, and that's what it turned into, is all the artists trying to sell their artwork to all the other artists. And it lasted for maybe about 4 weeks before it lost its allure, and then everybody kind of, like, I don't know, I jumped ship because it just got boring. Everybody was just trying to give you coupons. It ended up being a coupon social media thing, kind of, and it didn't work for me. So I am hoping Threads stays as clean as it's started out, but it's honestly, Threads has been a really good breath of fresh air on social media. And its interface works better than Twitter. Like I said last week, I hated posting images on Twitter. It's like they make the interface difficult for you so that you won't post pictures on Twitter, is what I feel like. Because it's like, I can never get the image to look the way that I like, because they have these 3 options or whatever, and you can do it this way, or this way, and it always ends up clipping my image the way that I want it to be able to be shown, and I've got to format it differently than I've got to format all the other social media platforms, which is like just, marketing on it is just a pain in the butt. And anyhow, I'm all on that. But I'm on Threads. Check it out. I enjoy it. It's been a breath of fresh air. So what else is going on? Oh, I have no idea. But back in Atlanta, and getting ready to just. This next trip's going to be moving all of what's left of my paintings in my studio. The rest of the paintings are going on this next trip. And some of it's going to be some of the bigger paintings that I couldn't move with the furniture. Some of the more delicate things will be going on this next ride out. So, and that'll be happening towards the end of the month, around the 25th or so, I guess. It's never a set date. I just kind of, when I feel ready to make the drive, I go. But what time is it? It's 9:17. So other than Threads, sorry, I'm feeling a little bit of tired, kind of creeping in a little bit. I was on the road. When did I leave? I left Friday at noon, and I got from Colorado, and then I got into Atlanta about 7 p.m. last night, and I had to catch up on all of the new Star Trek episodes. But the drive's getting easier between the Colorado and Atlanta. The drive's getting easier, but it's still rough, and it's starting to creep up on me, so I'm going to be drinking a lot of coffee. Oh, I didn't do our opening because somebody ate the brownie. And everybody that is watching out there, I promise I will find that grocery store sooner or later. I know it's become a thing where I keep getting lost on the way to the grocery store and end up in these beautiful panoramics. But, yeah. Mountain problems. Oh! Coffee is a nice crutch. We all need a vice. Coffee is a good vice. I know it's a complete lie. I know it lies to me. I know it's not giving me energy. I know it's not keeping me, making me awake. It's making me feel like pretend to be awake. It's kind of dulling the pain, I guess, a little bit. So, yeah, I know it. Every drug lies. But, you pick your battles. This could be creative cocaine. Not that I would ever do that, but just coffee. It's a lot safer. That should be the slogan. Coffee. It's a lot safer. Speaking of, has anybody seen the movie Cocaine Bear? That is actually based on a true Georgia story. And I think the bear from that movie is now in a museum or some shop in Tennessee because it got stuffed. So, yeah, that's a story. Whew! Sometimes Georgia competes with Florida. Georgia man versus Florida man. It's a thing. But, I did want to give a shout out. I finally got to meet one of my favorite artists, visionary artists. He lives in, and has a studio in Denver. I don't know if you can see it. This is his Homer Simpson, and it's pretty tricked out. So I'm glad that I finally got to meet Randall Roberts this past weekend. I went out to, in Denver, Colorado, on the first Fridays of the month, Mirrorless Gallery, and I think it's Catalyst Crystal Shop or something like that. I'm butchering that name, I'm so sorry. But mostly it's at Mirrorless Gallery in downtown Denver. I got to go out to their first Friday event this month, which was pretty cool, and I got to meet some of the local artists of Denver. That I've been meaning to, meet for a long, long time. So So that happened this week, so that was great. And then I'll go back. I think the next one's it's the first Fridays of every month. So I'm going to try to hit as many of those as I can. So if you're in the Denver area, I'll be going to those events. And then, yeah, there's just so much to explore out in Colorado. I have found that I I lost count of the number of trailheads that are within 20 miles of where I'm living in Colorado. Like literally campsites. Like I can get to like dozens of campsites within 10 to 15 minutes of where I live. I basically can just get in the van and I can just go and I can just go camp for the night and then come back. And I'm looking forward to exploring out there a little bit more. This past trip out, I got to do that a little bit more. I went up to Guanella Pass and I went up to the Loveland Pass, and just a little bit at a time. I'm getting acclimated. Being at a high altitude is a lot of getting used to because you got to go slower. And not just physically, you got to mentally go slower. I'm used to my mind going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's like the processor on your computer freezing up while it's doing a command, and then it just kind of gets stuck for about 30 seconds. That's kind of what it's like when you're doing intense thinking at 8,500 feet. Your brain just locks up, and then the more you try to push it, the more you kind of lose your breath, and the more you kind of gotta chill. So that's a thing. And then, you gotta move, you gotta move in pace with your oxygen flow, I guess, is basically what it is. But, yeah, so like Denver is the mile high city, like they call it, because it's roughly at about a mile above sea level. And then where I am in Georgetown, it's another half a mile up when you think about it. More than half of a mile up. We're at 8,500 feet. So that's basically roughly about 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles above sea level. So it's, it's been a drastic acclimation. So, so much going on. Oh God, the Hollywood strike is happening, and that's a little unnerving because that's so many people I know are going to be affected by this strike, and the biggest problem with it is the ones that are like the behind the scenes people that make, like the set builders, the people that make the sets flow, the ones that keep it going, the ones that build everything, that do all of the costuming and the set design and prop design. Those are the ones that are going to suffer the most right now because their livelihood comes from that industry. And with this double whammy of the writers and the actors being on strike, because I know Yahtzee, I think that's what I call it, Yahtzee. I think they had a couple years ago, I don't know if they ever went to strike or they were threatening to go on strike, but they got, they settled, but now the actors and the writers are now on strike, and it looks like, from what I understand, the industry just wants to starve them out, and it's like, part of me is like, what's their strategy behind that? But it's almost like, if you remember when there was a writer's strike that went down, that's when Survivor and all of your reality TV shows and all of these studios switched to these reality TV shows. What we're doing is we're experiencing another shift in the industry there. It's like, why would they be willing to kind of just sit there and starve the actors and the writers out? My biggest fear is now that AI is coming online and the fact that there's this whole sort of source material on social media now where they can, maybe their plan is to, like, they'll take content from, like, YouTube or whatever with content creators there and bring those people up. I don't know. I mean, it's like, are they just, they're trying to just completely disable, like, the industry in that sense. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing that's happening. I've got one television show that I have been waiting a long time for, which is Ahsoka, Star Wars Ahsoka. And Ahsoka in Star Wars is, she was the Padawan or apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, who ultimately becomes Darth Vader. And the reason why I like this character so much is through her, you get to really see the type of person Anakin Skywalker was, the hero that he was in the Clone Wars. And, it's that aspect of the writing in the story is what makes his fall to Darth Vader so much powerful. And now that, where they're taking the story even further into the Darth Vader time period, where you find out that the suit that Darth Vader is in is a prison, and it was a prison that was instilled onto Anakin Skywalker by the Emperor, and basically he gives Anakin the worst possible equipment, so it's constantly failing. It's old, outdated. Like, the Emperor doesn't give Darth Vader, like, the best equipment, because he wants Anakin to be in pain. Why does he want Anakin to be in pain? Because that forces the anger, that forces just the adrenaline, that forces his connection to the Force, which the Emperor wants to feed off. And if the Emperor gave Darth Vader all of the good stuff, then he would be in constant fear of Darth Vader, going to kill him. And so the Emperor, and this is what makes the whole thing just so awful. And when you realize it, and then you go back and you watch some of the original movies like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, when Darth Vader finds out that Luke is there and exists, it's like a little bit air of hope that he and Luke will be able to together overthrow the Emperor ultimately. So it's not that Darth Vader was all willingly doing the Emperor. It's just Darth Vader, like Anakin Skywalker, did not have the choice, because the Emperor also constantly teased the sort of Anakin wanted to use his Force abilities to be able to bring Padme back from the dead, and there's this whole era where he's researching all of that and trying to figure that out, and he needs the Emperor because the Emperor kind of, more than anybody else in the galaxy, knows that. So anyhow, a little Star Wars aside there, but Ahsoka is coming out starting next month, and then I think what I'm going to do is, once Ahsoka is done, I'm basically unsubscribing to all my subscriptions to all of the streamers, like Disney, Netflix, Paramount, all of the big media houses. I'm basically unsubscribing, because with the strike, there's nothing. Everything is on hold. There's a few shows that are going to still come out, like Skeleton Crew and but I think after Ahsoka, I think I'm going to take a break from all of the Star Wars Marvel stuff and the streaming stuff. I'm really enjoying the independent movement on YouTube. I'm all about supporting the independent artist. I enjoy watching, like, their realities more than, say, some of the higher realities. So I don't know if I said that right, but Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, just, I really It's at the point where there's a lot of people out there that are doing really good quality content in the independent market. And I think with the strike, you know, there's always whenever there's like a big sort of obstacle in an industry, like like what's happening in Hollywood right now, there's always a shift. Like the shift that happened when all the reality TV and Survivor came on the scene, and your reality and your Big Brothers and in your reality TV shows. I think that the major studios, are they thinking that they're going to be able to tap into the independent market? I mean, there's going to be probably some that are going to probably jump at the money, because like, you know, is this their thinking? Rather than pay these writers and these actors these god awful amounts of money, which isn't. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, I understand the hard work that goes into it, but and I understand that if the actors aren't getting the money, the big studios are getting their money. Somebody's got to be getting the money, and I think that it needs to be dispersed evenly, properly, and fairly. But is there thinking like another sort of reality TV run for about a year or two where they just tap into the independent social media market and they just lift up some of the content creators there? Is this what they're going to do? I mean, it seems like the movie studios feel like they have an ace in their hand, or they have an ace hidden somewhere, and that they can take such a step. Like, they didn't even talk. It's like no negotiation. So it's like they've got a plan. Anyhow, it's just I'm always going to be a Star Wars fan. I'm a good Marvel fan. I never was really into the comic books. I was really got into the MCU, and I've been enjoying the MCU. I felt like comic books, I couldn't keep up. And this was back in the 80s. I couldn't keep up with all of the storylines, and you didn't know where to jump in, and I tried jumping in a few different areas, like the death of Superman and some of the other different events, and I tried to get Secret Invasion and Civil War. I really enjoyed Civil War. That was a good story arc in the Marvel Universe. But I never really got into that, but I will always be Star Wars, so but it's like I don't know. I like independent music, I like independent content, I like independent creators, because it's real. It's like you're giving your time to people that are in the heart of the struggle, and it's the struggle, like coming up through the education system, and the way that art was taught in the education system was just horrendous. It was unless you went to a school that was truly, truly dedicated to it, which I did not, the art departments were mostly a joke, and that sucked, because it's just such an important fabric to creative, to being a well-rounded creative thinker, is to be able to think visually as well. And I think that that got missed a lot. And the way it's normally portrayed is you basically just you're showing pictures in the museum of the artwork in the museum or a gallery, and you just see the finished product, and you're led to believe that this artist, and this is way art education was for just the general art education was, art is magic, You're either born with it or you're not born with it. They basically have this great idea and they poop out this painting, you know, and it's like you never were taught, and it's called the agony and the ecstasy of the artist's ordeal in creating that piece, you know, and I think that's one of the really great benefits with what social media and the internet has added is the ability for us artists and creatives to be able to create little windows into our practice where, you know, we can share it with other creatives, so and just anybody that's interested in, because you can learn a lot from an artist or a creative and watching their struggle through a thing. And you know, to me, what I get more joy and benefit out in watching content or absorbing content is, instead of watching a full season of some series or episode or some like the great chef or what the chef shows or whatever, you know, is watching an independent artist, you like go through a little sort of bunch of series of videos where they tackled something that they were trying to like get better at. That was just the word. I am so bad at this. Anyhow, I get more out of watching independent artists and how, like, a musician that is working on putting a collection of songs onto an album and watching them over the year, like a year, you know, a season of that to me is more, I get more out of that than I do watching a mass media TV series. You know, unless it's like a really written, it's written really well and it's a story, or it's a story I know that comes from like a really good book. You know, it's like, I don't want the cookie cutter mass produced TV bullshit anymore. Yeah, and it's just sad that, like, you know, well, it's hard because mass media is easy. You just sit down and they feed it into your mouth and you just take it in and then you just absorb it. You know, with the independent creative sort of world, it's like a large portion of it is awful, like this show, but you gotta really search for the gems that are out there. You know, you gotta really search for the independent artists, and then if you want to support them, you can support them on Patreon or on YouTube, and you know, there's a way that they can monetize it. I wish there were better ways that we can monetize our content creation. It's getting there. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of really good, like, educators. If you're not familiar with Nebula, Nebula is created by a bunch of people that created Curiosity Stream, but they got together with sort of, I guess, teachers and professors, and it's basically content being created by professors, like classes that you can take to dive deep into a subject if you want to, and it's being created and run and owned by the teachers, so that they're making they make money off of it, and it's independent education. Yeah, that's the thing, independent education now that is finding its legs and finding its way of being able to survive on its own, and you know, where the people that are creating the content are getting a good portion out of you know, what they're creating, because mass media, you know, why I support independent creatives more than I do mass media is with the creative independent industry or that market, more of the money is going to the creator of that material rather than upper management, if that makes sense. You know, because I mean, you want to get to the true human nature of stuff. The independent creative scene is where you will get that. Um, you're not going to get that through mass media, no matter how hard they try, because it's all, you know, independent content is raw. I mean, it's like this. I mean, if you've been following this since December, you know what this was like in December, or what I was like in December. Um, you know, and that was still after 3 years of experience of practicing trying to be able to talk on a camera, on streaming live on the internet. But it's like, I hope, what I hope and what I hope, what I hope happens and what I hope doesn't happen. I hope that in this time, those that would be drawing content from the mass media providers take this time and start exploring the independent market and start giving some of their time, effort, and money there rather than giving it to the big industries. What I hope doesn't happen is that those big industries start poaching the independent market as a means to be able to offset their cost by trying to starve out the writers and the actors. So it's just like, don't feed the big media houses, feed the independent creators. Find whatever passion that you have out there in your life. There is an independent creator somewhere creating content that you would probably be able to connect with, that will probably like help you expedite that passion a little bit further. And it's difficult finding them, but they're out there. You gotta kind of just dedicate to the search. But when you find those gems, you know, it's like, I don't have cable. I don't really go to the movies anymore unless it's like something I do want to see Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is I really want to see Oppenheimer. That whole story, the whole Trinity test, that whole story arc of America is fascinating. Like, the realization to the people that experienced that first atomic bomb going off, and they're like just imagine like being miles away from the explosion and you still like burn your skin from it. I mean, or just being able to witness that explosion. I mean, it's like, you know, it's an opening of Pandora's box is what we did there. And, you know, like, just like, what was going through Oppenheimer's mind when he saw, like, when that happened and that experience. It's a lot like, if you're familiar with Miyamoto Musashi, who's a Japanese samurai. He's kind of looked at as the best samurai that ever existed in the history of Japan, which is, like, I mean, I guess that's debatable, and it's debatable what parts of his story are legend and what are actually true, because, you know, he got novelized and narrativized a lot in the 18th and 19th centuries, so there's a lot of myth and legend around him, but just, you know, being the best samurai in all of, like, Japan, and then like moving into the Buddhist realm at his later age, and then reflecting back on all that he was, because he's had a really good philosophical mind, but then he did some really, really brutal stuff, and you're like, whoa, you know. But it's also, you got to remember the space that he grew up in and was living in. I mean, it was the norm. You know, I love exploring the stories of historical figures that go through that type of experience. So Oppenheimer is definitely a movie I want to see, and I want to see that in the theater, more than Barbie. I don't have any. I mean, Yeah, there's just way too much pink in that movie. I had my pink phase in high school, and I'm done, and I got it through my system. I'm more of a green and blue dark. I'm a more dark color person now. So, um, I think what I'm going to do is on my social media is as I find independent artists and content creators that I feel are like shining. I think I need to do a section on my social media where I'm sharing their pages to let people know that, like, hey, this, like, if you're into this, follow this person. Because it's, I mean, to me, the 21st century is more of a participatory century and not a spectator century. So I don't want to be a spectator. I mean, watching mass media is being a spectator. Watching independent content creation, is being more of a, like, participation. You're participating in your content. You're supporting the content. I mean, don't give money to the mass media, give money to the independent artists. I mean, that's what I do. It's like, I'm going to take, basically, once Ahsoka is done, and I'm going to unplug from all of my subscriptions to the mass media companies, and I'm basically going to take that money and I'm putting it into a pool, and then I am going to start, like, directing it towards independent content creators. Especially independent content creators that are also in the movie industry or the TV industry, where they're going to need some supplemental income. So that's what I'm going to be looking for is independent content creation along those lines, and making sure that I direct the funds more towards them to help sort of alleviate the offset in the that aspect of the economy. So I'm very conscious of where my money goes. I only want my money going to people that are trying to build the world that I'm trying to build. There's a lot of us that are out there that are doing the best that we can to try to, the things that we do, we try to be associated with things that are making the world that is more along the lines of what we want it to be. And, be conscious of your products, be conscious of where you get your content from, be conscious of where your money is going, be conscious of where you're putting your time. I mean, do you spend the last hour of your day watching the evening news? The programmed evening news, whether it comes from Fox or CNN, it's all programmed. And are you, getting riled up? Is your testosterone levels getting up because they're showing you something that's just awful, because they're showing you something because they know that it's going to get you riled up, and then you get the cortisone into your system before you go to bed? Yeah, you're going to wake up in a bad state. Do not watch the evening news before you go to bed. Do not watch the news. Do not read the news before you go to bed. Do not read the news or watch the news when you wake up in the morning. There should be a dedicated time where you sit down and you go and look for the news that you want to know. Don't just sit there and let the news be fed to you, because you're going to be fed garbage. And I don't care if it's Fox or CNN or Headline, any of it. Any mass media news organization is going to feed you bullshit. So, be conscious of where you're spending your time. All right? Because I'm tired of listening to the people that don't do that complaining about the content that they're absorbing and saying that there's nothing good out there. Bullshit. They're just lazy. Lazy people that just want to be fed the same old garbage over and over and over again. And they're not taking, or even with their algorithm on their social media, it's like Facebook is awful. It's just feeding me awful things. Well, what are you telling it? What are you showing it that you want to see? You know, are you going to like click on all of the garbage? I mean, you click on one cute dance video, they're going to throw you 1,000 cute dance videos. You know, it's just, you know, curate your algorithm wisely. And nobody realizes this. Nobody realizes, everybody is like, oh, the algorithm, oh, the algorithm. No, the algorithm is designed to feed you what you want to see. And when you realize that, you can guide and direct it so that, like, for example, if I'm looking for a new product for my house, or if I'm looking for a new product for my computer, you know, I know now how and what's the best place to go and do the search. So then all of a sudden, all of the ads filter down, and then I get to. I mean, think about this. We talked last. Like I made the comparison about, yes, we're being really attached to our phone in the 21st century. But in the 20th century, we were attached to our brick and mortar store on some street somewhere where we had to spend all of our existence in this prison cell and couldn't go anywhere because we had to hope somebody was going to come into the store and buy something. You know, it's... Do you want to just be fed ads for random shit? Or do you want the system to be able to feed you what you're looking for? I want to buy a new bed. Okay, this is the type of bed that I want. Pretty soon we'll have AI, that's the AI shoppers. AI shopper is going to be the next, like, I think AI shopping is going to be one of the biggest AI uses for businesses. Or like, if I have an AI, like for example with AI art, you give it a little, there's a little post and you type in what you want, you want the AI to produce. You'll be able to give the parameters to the AI, and it will go find the product for you. I'm looking forward to that. But getting back to it where we are right now is, would you rather being fed just random bullshit products, or would you rather it be sort of smart and know what, like, see what you're looking for and be able to, like, know your habits and find you the best product that you are looking for? I find a lot of my new things that I like for the computer, like for the tablets, you know, for art products, you know, I find a lot, like, what's the best video camera? You know, I don't know anything about video cameras, so then I start finding the options. Anyhow, it's just, the problem is I feel, are the corporations innocent people? Like, it's all about money. It's all about money, and it's all about making money, and it's all about selling the products. So yes, there's going to be an aspect of it. Everybody's going to want to sell you something, but we have the tools and the ability to be able to control that if we just decide that we want to not complain about it and use the tools wisely and learn how to use the tools. Nobody wants to learn how to use the tools. Everybody just, it's just like, they're just feeding me all of this garbage. It's feeding you all that garbage because you're looking up garbage. I heavily curate my algorithms on social media. I am very particular about, like, making sure that I'm only going and visiting the things that I'm interested in, that I'm trying to draw into my business. All right? And over the years, these algorithms have been curated by me where, like, my Facebook feed is amazing. It's filled with amazing stories of the amazing people in my life that I want to follow. And, the content that, like, I want to follow, I make sure I engage. The content that I don't want to follow, I don't engage. And why? This way the algorithm knows what I'm looking for. If you like everything, if you comment on everything, if you just chase the negative on a constant basis, if you're constantly clicking on videos that are feeding that negative endorphin rush of watching car crashes or, like, serial killer stories constantly, or conspiracy theories constantly, you're going to be fed that. So you're going to be fed negative stuff. It's just, everybody complains but don't realize is how much power they actually have in being able to control it. But it all comes down to, is that person lazy or not? It's like back in the day, people screaming at the commercials on the TV, or screaming at the news on the TV, or like, what is that gonna do? Screaming at the commercial, what is that gonna do? Being upset about the commercial, what is that going to do? I'd rather be in a situation where I have some sense of control over what kind of commercials are coming at me than sitting there on the couch being force-fed what they want, the product they want to feed me this day. So, is today perfect? Hell, no. But there is no way I would go back to the 80s. There was no, maybe for the music. I would definitely go back to the 70s for the music. 90s music. Music is always a good, like, if you ever get stuck in time, go visit the musicians. That's because they got their finger on the pulse of what's going on. So, like I've ever been, well, how do I know? Yeah. I will ask politely to somebody that complains about their feed on Facebook. And I'm like, can I look at your news feed? Can I see what content's? And they're like, yeah, look at this garbage. And I'm like, but are you commenting on this? Are you engaging with it? Well, of course, I'm into it. Well, then that's why it's being fed to you. It's a mirror, it's kind of like those exercise devices. I forget what they're called. There's a term where they're designed so that when you get to that edge of your ability, it knows to push back, like, at that point. And then, like, you can, it reacts to you, I forget what they're called, what kind of exercise machine they're called. That's what, like, a social media algorithm is like. It's communicating with you, and you respect it, it will respect you. So, I'm not saying, like, bow down and submit to the AI overlords. I'm like, no, just learn what the tools that you're using do. Learn what your computer searching does. Look what your information does. One of the things that bothers me the most, especially with Gen Xers these days, is growing up, it almost became fashionable to be like, oh, I don't use a computer. I don't use email. I am old-fashioned. I am traditional. It's not a badge of courage anymore to like brag that, oh, I don't do social media, I don't do computers, I don't do this. It's the 21st century of being illiterate. And I know that's a harsh thing to say, it's a harsh thing to hear, but if you're not learning how to use the communication tools of the world that you're evolving into, in about 20 to 30 years, you're going to be so out of touch that you're going to be lost. I feel sorry for the Gen Xers 10 to 15 years from now that have made it their badge of courage, like, of not interfacing with a computer and knowing how to use a computer properly, or being patient with a computer. Life is going to continue to get very, very difficult unless you have kids that can do it for you. But it's the hardest thing that I see that's going on in my generation right now are those that never learned how to use the computer. And yeah, yeah, I know it sucks. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating. I know you want to throw the computer out the damn window. It's just like, oh my God, I got another virus. It's just learn how to protect yourself. Learn how the communication system is working. Watch a YouTube video if you want to know how to do it, or if you want to know about it. There's so much content on YouTube that will teach you. My God. That's the thing, is it's like the tools are there for everybody, and you don't even need to pay for them. I mean, we exist in a time period where you can learn a major craft, and you can dedicate a year to it, and you can be proficient in it by the end of the year if you dedicate it to start making a living off of it without having to do a 4-year, $100,000 education. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, birds. Patoo, patoo, patoo. And I'm not calling anybody out. I mean, it's just something I generally see across the board in my generation right now, is so many of my generation are not ready for the 21st century. They are not ready for the 21st century, and I think they're going to have a lot of Gen Xers are going to struggle, be in a place where they're going to be lost in their 60s and in their 70s, and it's going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue that is going to be en masse enough that it's I got somebody coming to my door. I've got hold on, I've got Grubhub coming to my door. I see you coming, but you might have the wrong house. Alright, hold on a second. Come on in. Oh, you can come up the steps. Brian, did you order food? Brian, your food's here. Sorry about that. He's coming. I thought you guys, I didn't order food. All right. Ooh. Are you just trying to get home? Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one. Okay. Sorry about that. Like, there's this dude bringing food up to my door. I've actually have had that happen a couple of times, where like I'll open up my front door and there's food there. Like, it's happened twice, where I just open up my door there's like 4 bags from McDonald's on my front steps. And the sad thing is it's been there for probably about 4 hours. And those people didn't get their food, and that's horrible. But, yeah, well, anyhow, whew, I think that's probably going to be the space that I'm going to end this on. Talked about some difficult things today. There's some difficult things that are going on in the creative worlds right now. They'll resolve themselves. Like I said, everything is shifting right now. The biggest thing that we're experiencing is like the tension that you feel, the anger, the frustration, the division that you that's coming. There's certain parts of the economy that are excelling, and there's certain parts of the economy that are falling down. We're kind of in a situation back in, I would say, the 70s and in the 80s when factories started closing, and factory workers, who were like probably looking at being lifetime factory workers in what they're doing and ultimately getting a pension, where the factories started closing down and everybody started losing their jobs. But that is because the industries were shifting. We're dealing with that right now. And the biggest issue that we've got is we are shifting from a 20th century economy into a 21st century economy. And, when you hear the comment like, oh, kids these days, they don't want to work. Restaurants can't get people to come in and do the work. Nobody wants to work these days. No, that's not it. Because these kids these days realize and understand, and they all communicate with each other so they know where to go. They can make more money being an influencer on social media. They can make more money there than they can at a McDonald's. Kids can make more money playing video games and streaming them on YouTube and Twitch than they can at a fast food restaurant. All right? It's not that people are not wanting to work. I mean, there is that, but the industries are shifting. There are better ways to make money these days. The digital economy is thriving. There is a lot of space there for people to grow there. People can have a lot more independence and make money with the influencing than they can in a retail job. And that's what's happening. So, they say that kids don't want to work these days. I see kids hustling their asses off on social media. I mean, if I had the social media tools back in high school, I would have been wealthy by the time I got into college. I wish I would have had the tools that kids today have to be able to make a living and find a way to be able to live it and mold and form the types of lives that they want to, and not kind of go into a construct that is outdated and obsolete. So, that's the truth of it. Industries are shifting. So, anyhow, I am going to kind of call it a day there. I am tired. It's at 1:10 and, an hour and 10 minutes long. So, I try to go for about an hour with these. So, I will be back next week. I'll be at Soul Dance on July 23rd. If you're in the Atlanta area, I'll be painting live there. My website is going to be going live. Well, my website is live. The Arcane Arena store is going to be going live this weekend into next week. And then also, I think I'm going to be finally getting ready to do a summer sale on my website for the rest of the summer, because I've been doing a lot of work rebuilding my website. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things coming down the road. Support the independent artists, buy art, don't be a lazy spectator, participate in your life, and